Today we're going to talk about why I could never be a Muslim. Now, this video isn't meant to instigate anything or to be disrespectful in any way, but we should be able to talk about the points of religion that we disagree with and make arguments for it, make good points about it without fearing the need or having the need to feel to disrespect people of a religious group, which is not my intent. But sorry it'll come off that way, because the reason I can never be Muslim is very sensitive for a lot of people. But I think it's a very simple point. This is not a logical argument, a formal argument of any kind. It's just a very simple case about moral intuition. So, to be fairly quick and simple about it, in Islam, you have the Quran, which is the primary text, what they say is the word of God, and then you have the hadiths, which are the narrations of the life of the Prophet Muhammad and other events relevant to Islamic history that the scholars of Islam go through in order to authenticate, in order to find out about the life of Islam and of Muhammad, and so a lot of these hadiths are non-negotiable for Muslims. And then there are a bunch of hadiths that confirm the Prophet Muhammad's wife, Aisha, was 6 years old when they got married. This is not disputed by really anybody, the age of which when they got married. What is disputed is when the marriage was consummated. There's an overwhelming amount of evidence in hadith that point to the fact that Aisha was 9 years old when the marriage was consummated. And there's usually two responses to this. Usually you get the first one, maybe the most common, because a lot of Muslims don't know about their faith. They haven't read a single hadith in their life. Maybe they're just, a lot of people are just, in terms of culture, religious. And so they will say she was not 9 years old at the time of consummation. This is the more ignorant response that I've seen from, when I say ignorant, I mean people who have not studied the religion say this. And they're going against a massive amount of scholarly consensus and evidence that that is the case. And years and years and years of that being the dominant view, even up until today, at least for Sunni Islam, which is the majority sect of Islam, over 90% of Muslims. The second response is for the people that I've seen who are Muslim, will argue that they don't go based off in age, they go based off of mental and physical maturity. And to me, this is what I find the most concerning, because the argument then shifts from, can you consummate marriages with minors, to, are the minors mentally and physically mature enough? Which to them, there's no age limit to that. To them, in theory, a 6-year-old could be mentally and physically mature enough. To me, that's just concerning, extremely concerning, that I will never have the moral intuition that that is right. Number one, we know now in the 21st century, with 21st century science and health, countless studies showing that it is harmful for underage humans and to have or to consummate marriages, to have sex. It is harmful for them in the long term. When you have a child who's going through puberty, it is harmful for them, especially when it's before puberty. But mentally, it is harmful for them. We know that in the 21st century. And to say if someone is mentally mature, they're implying, a lot of them explicitly will say, Aisha was mentally mature enough. Where there's a hadith, the same hadith said that she was still playing with dolls when they consummated the marriage. That same hadith says that she was still playing with dolls, with toys. So, and instead of addressing the point that what they idolize Muslims, Sunni Muslims, as the perfect model, the model for everyone to look up to, is a person who performed that behavior. And so my fear is that Muslims, if you are a Muslim, then you are going to have to at least be okay with that occurring. Not to say you explicitly support it, but you're going to be at least okay with it. And I would personally never be okay with that. And I think that harming children is wrong, and having sex with minors harms children. Therefore, having sex with minors is wrong. And I don't understand why people want to shift the conversation to whether or not they're mentally mature. Saying that a 6-year-old is mentally mature is absurd to me. And that seems very subjective, because you can just make a whole endless argument about how, like, I've seen people say, well, 6-year-olds used to go to war back then. Who cares? 6-year-olds used to go to war? That means that they're ready for that? It's absurd to me, but I don't know. Tell me what you think. Maybe I was going to say maybe you can convince me of an argument, but I just cannot ever see that being the case. And I think that will always be a reason why people will not accept Islam. And it's certainly one why I will not.